Hello and welcome. Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Global. We'll be getting you the top stories from India and the region. I'm Gautam Roy. And for news from the rest of the world, I'm joined by my colleague Ollie Barrett from London. Good to have you with us, Ollie.
Good to be with you, Gautam. Just gone 12:30 here in London, 1:30 p.m. across Central Europe. Coming up in the next half hour, Ukraine says it has a plan to end the conflict with Russia. India's progress on greenfield smart cities and the latest on the Venice Film Festival. First, the headlines.
The Kremlin dismisses Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's talk about a plan to end the conflict, which he said he'll present to US President Joe Biden. Russia says it will fight on. The Indian government clears 12 industrial nodes under the National Industrial Corridor Development Program to build world-class greenfield smart cities. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer holds talks with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz in Berlin, says the UK-Germany treaty is part of a wider reset with Europe. And Donald Trump faces a reworked federal charges over his alleged bid to overturn his 2020 election loss. Prosecutors narrow their approach after a US top court ruling which gave former presidents broad immunity from criminal prosecution. First up on DD India Global, Russia has said its forces have defused unexploded US-supplied munitions fired by Ukraine near Russia's Kursk nuclear power plant. Russia's National Guard, Rosgvardia, has said that its sappers had found a shell from a US-supplied HIMARS multiple-launch rocket system 5 kilometers from the power plant and a rocket fragment stuffed with 180 unexploded munitions. The soldiers were seen inspecting fragments of the rocket. Meanwhile, the Kremlin has dismissed all talk of Zelensky's plan to end the conflict and said that Russia will keep fighting. Also, an oil depot in Russia's Kamensky district in the Rostov region was found to be on fire after a purported drone attack by Ukraine. A Telegram channel close to Russia's security services said 3 tanks were burning after 2 drones fell on the territory of the oil depot. The attack comes while tanks were still on fire at another Rostov oil depot in the Proletarsk district. While Rostov's governor Vasily Golubev has said 4 Ukraine-launched drones were destroyed over the region, he added no casualties were reported and the firefighters have extinguished the fire. And for more on these developments, we're joined live by DD India's Dasha Cherneshova from Moscow. Well, good evening to you, Dasha. The Kremlin may be saying that it will push on with its special military operation, but it's already been over 2.5 years that the fighting has gone on. Now, does it have any sort of a strategy in place to end the war one way or the other?
Well, indeed, we have heard the Kremlin suggesting that the statements from Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky about the defeats over Russia are not new, and therefore Russia will only continue with its so-called special military operation in Ukraine until all the goals are achieved. And those statements by the Kremlin are also not new. Moscow has always been saying that those goals of demilitarization and denazification of Ukraine will one way or another be achieved, one way militarily, another diplomatically. So far, we understand that the diplomatic track is frozen. Moscow has said that there are no prerequisites, no grounds for the negotiated solution of the conflict in Ukraine, especially after the start of Ukraine's Kursk incursion. So generally, Russia is saying that it will be beefing up its military. They have increased the military industrial complex. They have increased military output, and they are also trying to attract more people to get to sign the contracts with the Russian Ministry of Defense, promising them have to both bonuses. Most recently, they have increased those payments, and now in Moscow, for instance, many are saying that there are more people willing to join the Russian MOD and to fight in Ukraine because of those hefty payments. And at the same time, the understanding in Kremlin is that this conflict will have to end with Russia dictating its terms of how it wants to see this peace, because they say they're not going to be fooled once again by giving any time to Ukraine to rearm, as it was the case during the Minsk agreements.
All right, so Russia doubling down on its war efforts in an effort to counter all this talk of victory that perhaps Zelensky sees for Ukraine. Thanks for joining us for the moment, Dasha Chernyshoba. Now, Israeli forces have sent tanks deeper into Khan Yunis in the southern Gaza Strip and launched strikes across the enclave fighting the Hamas. Ollie Barrett is in London and gives us more on this and other stories making headlines around the world. Ollie, now, does this seem like a final push that is taking place before those talks that have been going on in round after round in Doha finally bear fruit?
Maybe so, Gautam, and the Israeli army on Wednesday certainly conducting a major operation in the West Bank. A counter-terrorism operation launched overnight by Israeli armed forces. 3 gunmen were killed in an aerial strike in the Jenin region. In Tulkarm, 2 others were killed, and weapons including M16s, ammunition and additional military equipment were confiscated by the army. Helicopters and drones were used in one of the largest operations seen in the West Bank for months. And Israeli forces have sent tanks deeper into Khan Yunis in the southern Gaza Strip and launched strikes across the enclave. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer's received a military welcome at the Chancellery in Berlin as he held talks with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. The 2 leaders discussed a new pact they hope will bring about an unprecedented degree of bilateral, military and other sphere cooperation. During a joint press conference, the German Chancellor praised Keir Starmer's bid to improve UK-EU relations, and the UK Prime Minister says the new pact with Germany would be a major step towards boosting ties with the rest of the EU.
A new UK-Germany treaty, a once-in-a-generation chance to deliver for working people in Britain and in Germany. A new agreement, a testament to the depth and potential of our relationship, with deeper links on science, technology, development, people, business, culture, a boost to our trading relations.
Earlier, the UK Prime Minister met the German President, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, and signed a guest book at the Bellevue Palace in Berlin. Starmer will head to Paris for the Paralympics opening ceremony on Wednesday. He's also scheduled to hold talks with French President Emmanuel Macron. French investigative judges are due to decide on whether to place Russian-born Telegram chief Pavel Durov under formal investigation after his arrest by French authorities. Durov was detained at Le Bourget airport outside Paris on Saturday over alleged violations at the messaging app service. Being placed under formal investigation in France does not imply guilt or necessarily lead to a trial, but it suggests that judges consider there's enough for the case to proceed with the probe. Investigations can last years before being sent to trial or shelved. The overall investigation at this stage is directed against unspecified people. Former US President Donald Trump has been charged with a new indictment accusing him of illegally trying to overturn his 2020 election loss. Special counsel Jack Smith's team accused Trump of a multi-part conspiracy to block the certification of his election defeat to Joe Biden. It asked the court to revive the criminal case, accusing Trump of retaining classified documents after a lower court dismissed the indictment in July. The 81st edition of the Venice Film Festival kicks off with a star-studded start with the world premiere of Beetlejuice on Wednesday. It hits theatres worldwide next week. The film festival is a busy 10-day event on the Lido, the barrier island across the Venetian lagoon, where the festival has been held since 1932. Among the films competing for the Golden Lion Award are Todd Phillips's Joker, Folie à Deux, Pablo Larraín's Maria, Helena Rain's Baby Girl, Luca Guadagnino's Queer, and Pedro Almodóvar's The Room Next Door. And DD India's Giles Gibson joins us live now with more from Rome. Giles, how different is this year's edition compared to 2023 with all of the Hollywood strikes and so on? And among those Golden Lion competitors we heard about there, who's fancied to win it?
Well, Ollie, we're already seeing the difference this year compared to 2023. I was watching some footage of the stars of Beetlejuice getting off gondolas and posing for photographs in front of the world's cameras. That difference because of the fact that last year's festival took place right at the height of the Hollywood actors' strikes. So many stars simply decided to stay away because they were not allowed to go due to their commitments under their union, and even those who got waivers to attend, including the actress Jessica Chastain, well, they sort of expressed a sense of guilt that they were even there in the first place. So this year, really, the difference is pretty clear already as it kicks off. Just to run you through some of the contenders for the Golden Lion, you mentioned a few of them there. A lot of buzz around Joker Folie à Deux, starring Joaquin Phoenix. That's a sequel to the acclaimed Joker that came out in 2019. There's also a lot of excitement around a film called The Room Next Door. It stars Tilda Swinton and Julianne Moore, and it's really getting a lot of buzz because it's the first time that the acclaimed Spanish film director Pedro Almodóvar has actually put out a feature film in English rather than his native Spanish. There's also Maria, which you mentioned, a biopic of the iconic opera singer Maria Callas, starring Angelina Jolie. We haven't seen her in a kind of high-profile role like that in quite some time. All of those films, yes, competing to win the prize at the end of the festival, the Golden Lion, but there's also a lot more significance around that because it's generally seen as a way to really kick off your Oscars campaign, to get a lot of buzz around your film as we head towards the Oscars coming up in the spring of next year.
Thanks, Giles. And with that, Gautam, back to you in the studio in Delhi.
Please for that helping hand from London. With elections in eastern German states on Sunday, the far-right Alternative for Germany, that's the AfD, is seeing rising support in the regions. As the country's domestic chip industry is based in the eastern state of Saxony, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, at the opening ceremony of a chip plant ahead of polls, described semiconductors as crucial to the country's industrial survival. The German regional polls are to be held in 3 states, that's Saxony, Brandenburg and Thuringia, on the 1st of September, with the AfD leading in opinion polls. And DW correspondent Thomas Sparrow is joining us live from Berlin for more on this. Thomas, good evening to you. What have the key issues been in these regional elections, and is the rising far-right tide in Europe also likely to be seen in this case?
Regional elections in Germany are obviously focused on specific topics in the specific region. So unemployment, education, other topics like how to prepare for the future. But, and this is an important but, regional elections always have a political impact that goes beyond the region, that has a national impact. And in this particular case, these elections in the east of Germany have been focused on the influence of the far-right Alternative for Germany, AfD, on the role that the AfD has been playing, but also on the fact that the 3 parties that form the federal coalition here in Berlin, so the Social Democrats, the Greens and the Liberals, they have been performing rather badly. So it will be interesting to see when the elections happen on Sunday in those states, not only how the AFD performs, but also how the other parties perform as well. And when you ask about the topics, some of the central topics to these elections are migration and security. And in particular, those two have even become more important now after the terror attack in the city of Solingen in the western part of Germany last weekend that was claimed by the so-called Islamic State, where 3 people were killed, several others injured, and where the main suspect was arrested, and he's suspected of having acted on radical Islamist motivations. So that gives you an idea that despite the fact that you had Solingen in the western part of Germany and that attack, that the issues related to that, migration, deportation, security, and so on, are also playing a role in what is happening in the East ahead of those elections.
Yes, these are burning European concerns. As you mentioned, migration as well. How is the government planning to address these challenges?
Migration, on the one hand, the government has stressed that it plans to make deportations faster and more efficient, especially when it comes to failed asylum seekers from countries like Syria or Afghanistan. The main suspect in the case of Solingen was actually a 26-year-old Syrian asylum seeker. So that's something that the government has stressed. The opposition has gone even further by saying that migration from those countries, from countries like Syria or Afghanistan, to Germany should be stopped altogether, which in practical terms is very difficult. And on the other issue of security, the discussion here in the country is about having tougher laws related to the possession of weapons, in particular knives. The suspect in the attack in Solingen attacked the people with a knife. So the discussion now is whether to ban knives further or to make sure that certain types of knives cannot be used in public. Those who are in favor say that this could help towards guaranteeing a sense of security in the country. Those who are against say that it will be very difficult to control. Again, these topics that are related to what happened in Solingen at the weekend are now obviously playing a role when it comes to the political discussions in the eastern part of the country ahead of the elections.
Thomas Sparrow, thank you for joining us from Berlin. And still to come on DD India Global. India rejoices over the completion of 10 years of the PM Jan Dhan initiative, the world's largest financial inclusion scheme. And southwestern Japan braces for the region's biggest storm typhoon, Shanshan, which has also led to a tsunami warning.
This week on Defense Dynamics, we will tell you about defense and diplomacy panning out from Poland, Ukraine, and right up to United States of America. What does this mean in real tangible terms? How does this underscore India's multipolar worldview by exercising strategic autonomy, and much more? Also, what's the strategic implication of Indian military officers being stationed with different US commands? Watch Defense Dynamics this week on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. IST on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Global. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Chile, Alberto Van Claveren, met at Hyderabad House in New Delhi on Wednesday. Chile's Foreign Minister is on a 3-day visit to New Delhi for the second India-Chile Joint Commission meeting that took place on Wednesday. During the Joint Commission meet, Dr. Jaishankar welcomed the delegates and said that Chile is one of the key partners of India and it values the participation of Chile in the Voice of Global South Summit as well.
As I welcome you, let me also say we very much value the participation of Chile in the Voice of Global South summits. We heard your president. He gave a very insightful set of remarks at the summit in August. We also thank you very much for your support for our permanent membership in the Expanded Security Council. Your own participation in the Trade and Economic Ministers meeting in November 2023 is also something we appreciate very deeply.
The world's largest financial inclusion initiative, the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana or PM Jan Dhan, completed 10 years of its implementation on Wednesday in India. The initiative had a profound impact on every corner of the nation, be its transformational impact on financial inclusion, women's empowerment, access to credit, UPI and digital services that have been crucial steps in the journey of a developed India. In a post on social media platform LinkedIn, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that today over 53 crore, that's 530 million people, now have bank accounts having a deposit balance over 2.3 lakh crore rupees. Over 65% of Jan Dhan Yojana accounts are either in rural or semi-urban areas. Direct transfers worth almost 39 lakh crore rupees have taken place. Prime Minister Modi further said that Jan Dhan Yojana has proven to be game-changing as far as women's empowerment is concerned. Almost 30 crore, that's 300 million women, have been brought into the banking system. Jan Dhan also became a vital pillar of the JAM Trinity, that's Jan Dhan, Aadhaar and Mobile. Over 40% of real-time digital payments in the world happen in India. PM Jan Dhan Yojana personifies dignity, empowerment and the opportunity to participate in the economic life of the nation. In a landmark decision on Wednesday, the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, chaired by India's Prime Minister Modi, has approved 12 new project proposals under the National Industrial Corridor Development Program with an estimated investment of over $3 billion. The move is set to transform the industrial landscape of the country, creating a robust network of industrial nodes and cities that will significantly boost economic growth and global competitiveness.
ये 12 नए इंडस्ट्रियल एरियाज कंबाइंड इनमें इन्वेस्टमेंट सरकार की तरफ से आएगा 28,602 करोड़ का 28,602 करोड़ का और वंस दीज कॉरिडोर्स एंड नोड्स आर डेवलप्ड उसमें इन्वेस्टमेंट पोटेंशियल है 1.5 लाख करोड़ 1,52,757 करोड़ और करीब करीब 10 लाख एम्प्लॉयमेंट का इसमें पोटेंशियल है.
Now, the 5th edition of the Global Fintech Fest, which started on Wednesday, is designed around the theme Blueprint for the Next Decade of Finance, Responsible AI, Inclusive, Resilient. The fest also has more than 300 exhibitors showcasing their services and unique products. National Payments Corporation of India, one of the organizers, has also exhibited its fintech solutions, including the new National Common Mobility Card. DD India's Sharma Mishra reports.
Well, the Global Fintech Festival has kick-started in Mumbai, and we are at a place where more than 300 exhibitors are showcasing their various fintech solutions. One particular stall over here is of NPCI, and they are showcasing their quite unique product, and you can see there's a bus, a double-decker bus in demo, and there's a bus stop as well. Instead of standing in a queue, you come here, and these would be installed at various places. Now it's only in Chennai, but you come here, you press this, there'll be a QR code over here. You make a payment of 100 rupees through any of your app, be GPay, PhonePe, Bheem, and then your card would be dispensed from here. You take that card, you do your traveling in a very convenient mode. So it saves time, it saves you a lot of hard work. This and various other solutions related to fintech is on display over here to make lives easier. With camera person Gaurav Kagra, this is Sharma Mishra for DD India, Mumbai.
Southwestern Japan is bracing for what officials say could be one of the strongest storms to ever hit the region, as some residents in the path of Typhoon Shanshan have been ordered to evacuate, and major firms like Toyota have closed factories. Airlines and rail operators have cancelled some services for the coming days. The Meteorological Agency has issued an emergency warning as well. The authorities have issued evacuation orders for more than 800,000 residents in Kagoshima Prefecture in southern Kyushu and central Japan's Aichi and Shizuoka prefectures. Let's now take a look at some other stories making news around the world. Malaysia's civil aviation regulator has cut the duration of Malaysia's airlines' air operator certificate from 3 years to 1. The state carrier is on probe due to technical issues. Malaysia Aviation Group had said to temporarily reduce its flights and routes across the carriers until December this year. Pope Francis will take his first overseas trip of the year and the longest of his 11 years of tenure as Pope. He'll be travelling to Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, Timor-Leste and Singapore from the 2nd of September till the 13th. La Tomatina Food Fight Festival sparked off with thousands of people hurling tomatoes at each other on the 28th of August in Bunol, eastern Spain. 7 trucks loaded with 120 tons of tomatoes drove past the town's main street as revelers wearing white clothes threw tomatoes at each other. Thousands from across the globe are participating in the festival. And a river of clouds could be seen descending on Wednesday through the Grimsel Pass in the Swiss Alps and into a nearby valley. The swells of vapor are the result of a meteorological phenomenon known as inversion. Quite a sight there. Now, that's all we have in this edition of DD India Global, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. You can scan the QR code on the screen and download the app right now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Global.